Hey guys, welcome back to Sully's Tech Hub. Wanted to kind of provide a voiceover for this video. I know we didn't do it for the previous one, but I thought maybe I would add a little bit more context with voiceover. It's kind of hard to add typed out annotations to everything. It takes quite a bit of time, but I know some people just don't really like listening to a voiceover very much. But anyways, I thought I would try both styles and see what you guys like. So to kind of explain a little bit more context, I've had the Pixel 8 Pro since launch. My current settings that I'm using on it is basically just an auto mode, and then sometimes I'll use the expandable settings, and I might drop shadows or change brightness, but usually I don't do too much. I don't mess with color temperature unless I can tell that it's really messing with it. Honestly, in some of the images in this video, I should have used the color temperature settings because they were quite off. This image here is going to be the only one that wasn't shot in a true 50 megapixel mode. And I say that because that was a 2x crop on the main sensor, which is, somewhere around a 50 millimeter equivalent, if I'm not mistaken. But everything else I shot in 50 megapixel mode, so you'll notice that the punch ins on all the other images are going to be quite sharp, or they should be quite sharp. I try to do that to kind of show you what sort of detail performance the image should get. And just in case you're curious, all the punch ins are always going to be at 400%. So that's a 400% punch in there. I am editing these on the free version of Lightroom Mobile for a couple of reasons. I'm just principally opposed to subscriptions. I would never give Adobe any of my money, and that actually extends further back than this recent debacle. I know that Adobe is kind of in some shit right now with some terms of service abuse that they've been doing and kind of trapping their customers into these long-term things, these long-term subscriptions. It's very hard to get out of. But anyways, so I'm walking in area of downtown Memphis here, and I'm primarily using the telephoto sensor. I will say, when you're taking these longer shots, it doesn't really matter very much, but I will mention that the telephoto sensor does not have the same autofocus performance as the primary sensor. The primary sensor definitely has the best autofocus performance of the three, even though it matters even less on the ultra wide sensor. Autofocus doesn't really come into play very much in ultra wide because usually just everything's going to be in focus unless you're doing some kind of macro photography. Frankly, I tend to prefer more long lens macro photography, and unfortunately the Pixel 8 Pro cannot do that. If you're curious what I'm talking about, if you look at phones like the more recent Huawei release this year, if you look at the Xiaomi 14 Ultra or the Vivo X100 Pro or X100 Ultra, what you'll notice is the long lens, the telephoto lens in all of those phones are capable of focusing quite close to the phone itself. The Pixel 8 Pro, I have done a test of this, so if you want to check it out on my channel, you can. But I have a short where I test the minimum focusing distance of each of the different lenses. And more or less, I could just tell you that the ultra wide, it's about 1 inch from the sensor. The standard lens, it's approximately 4 inches-ish, 4 to 5 inches from the sensor. And then the telephoto sensor, it's about an arm's length for me. So it's pushing, 2.5 feet maybe. It's quite far actually, so you can't really use the telephoto sensor for any kind of macro. But when you're taking these more, standard, long range shots with the long range lens, they do tend to come out quite well. As I mentioned earlier, you can kind of see that this phone is wanting to turn a lot of these images very yellow. Lots of yellows and lots of oranges. We are around sunset in this walk around, this walk through Photoshoot, and it is affecting the color accuracy of the phone quite a lot. Yes, there is a little bit of a sunset warm cast in real life, but it is certainly not as intense as it is in some of these unedited photos. I am actually able to increase the color accuracy on a lot of the photos, even though I'm clearly not editing for color accuracy. I want to mention that when I'm editing these images, I'm actually trying to kind of push the raw files to their limits. So I'm tending to mess with the shadows a bit more, mess with the highlights, push the colors just a little bit further. So this isn't my typical editing style, but really what I'm trying to do is pull out any imperfections with the raw file. And I am successful in doing that in some of these images. If you go back through and you look through, you'll notice that sometimes the highlights will clip, or the clouds won't always be perfectly, I guess, rendering their colors. Like you can kind of see there's a little bit of a highlight clip there in that cloud. So it is possible to push these files to their limits. These are relatively low bitrate raw files, if I'm not mistaken. I believe they're somewhere between 8 and 12 bit. I know that's quite a big range, but it doesn't really compare to other raw files on the market, like the Xiaomi 14 Ultra. Its raw format outputs in 14-bit, so it's going to be quite a bit more color information, which should help you to kind of preserve some of these shadows and highlights a little bit better. And then finally, the Samsung has a 16-bit raw file. So I stopped recording at this point and I just started to shoot. So you've kind of seen how it goes. You already know what I do. You know, I walk up and I pull my phone out and I take a photo. So if that wasn't already obvious, for the remainder of the video, I shoot just a few more here at this little riverside park, and then I actually go downtown, which is really going to test the night performance of the Pixel 8 Pro. One of the things I want to mention is that sometimes I use the night mode on the Pixel 8 Pro even in the daytime, and the reason that I do that is I've noticed in the past it doesn't always work, but sometimes when I'm having color accuracy issues or noise issues with the Pixel 8 Pro, sometimes using the night mode in the daytime can actually fix some of those noise problems or some of those color accuracy problems. It's very inconsistent about whether or not it wants to work, but I have seen it work quite often, and I have some examples of that on my channel that I posted from Shorts. So if you want to check that out, you can. For the most part, the Pixel is getting really good color accuracy here. It's not over bleeding these neon signs. This one was a little bit wrong. This scene was not this bright in real life. I kind of took it down a little bit in my edited copy. That's closer to reality. But I hope you were able to kind of get something from this video. If you have any questions or curious about how I edit, just let me know. I'd be happy to help out. But this will be it for today. Thank you guys for stopping by. We'll see you in the next one.